Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Decryption and I hope you are doing well. I was asked a question the other day and it proper got me thinking about what my answer was going to be. And it was, what plugins are a must in Unreal? What's my go-to plugins that I use in nearly every single project? And I started thinking about it and I just whittled off like 6 or 7 of them instantly without even much thinking about it, because they're my go-to plugins. It's what I always use. And then a few days later I thought a bit more and I got a couple more plugins in, and then I basically settled on 9 or 10 plugins that I use nearly every single project I do in Unreal. I'm about to also add one more that I'm going to use in the vast majority of plugins, but it's still a work in progress at the moment. So I figured in today's tutorial we'll go over top 10 plugins you're going to want to use in Unreal. So let's get started. So if you've seen anything on my channel at all, chances are you know one of the plugins I'm going to say. But I'm not going to cheat and name every plugin from the franchise, because that's just going to take up the entire list, you know. I use narrative, woo, end of list. Now, I'm combining them all into one plugin. So I use the narrative frameworks. So there's a bunch of different ones. You've got the smaller modular ones, or you've got the big new pro one, which I don't own yet. But basically, narrative frameworks give you a bunch of tools that would normally take you months to create, and they give you a bunch of functionality that would take you months, maybe years to perfect in your game. So the first one I started with was the node-based quests and dialogue, which is soon going to be renamed to Tales, so narrative tales. I am biased because I am a moderator for narrative and I also now work with them. However, I wasn't before. I used them on streams working in narrative before I even got associated with them. But all of the plugins I use in nearly every game with very few exceptions. So the narrative tales, quest-based dialogue, I use in every single project. I've not worked on a project since that's not had it in, and for a good reason. Create quests and dialogue within minutes. If you see my latest speedrun video, every module I plug in up, and I think it's under like 15 minutes and I've got, you know, a huge chunk of a game right there and then. Other things like Navigator, if you don't want any maps or anything, you might not, so you won't go with that. Narrative Inventory, sometimes you might not need an inventory. It's okay. Interaction, Quests and Dialogue, and Common UI, because Common UI is a free one you tend to use for better UIs and stuff. Those 3 I typically use without a doubt. I don't even think about it anymore. If I create a new project, I just open the project, close it, paste those 3 plugins in, and basically all of these 10 upcoming ones, and I carry on. It's just so easy, that's the point of it. So yes, there is that plugin. The next plugin we're going to look at is one that I've only picked up this year, but every single person I mention it to, I always follow it along with, Unreal should just have this in by default, and I strongly feel that way. So, in games, it's very common to have walls like that, just a long wall, or fences like that surround something. You know, a long trail of something. Maybe like a road, but this is more for freestanding stuff like that. Or a pile of rocks, or a fence that borders something off. All something like that. And before, you used to have to place these meshes singularly, or you went and wrote something to make it run across a spline. You can go and get dedicated plugins that literally just do fences or stones, books, flags, something like that. This creator of Vi Guy Studios basically came out and went, why? Just add it. And they created this super generic blueprint spline there called BP Spline Mesh, or Basic Spline Mesh Blueprint. That's it. I think it's free, but I might be wrong. It might be $5. Oh no, it is free. There we go. It's given free. It's a necessary tool because of how complicated it can be. It's that simple. You literally just drag it in. So let's do it now. Let's say I want a fence here. So we'll drag this blueprint spline in like so, and I'll have a cube on it. I'll click the spline, so you can see the little red one there, and I'll move it to where I want it to be. And then I'll hold Alt to duplicate it. You can see it's matching to the floor perfectly. Yeah, we'll do it about there. So you can see I now have a cube. If I click off it and click back on it, I can come to the spline meshes here. Let's find a wall. A stone wall. There we go. Stone wall. Boom. There you go. We've now got stone walls, just like that. I can come in, I can select this mesh, and I can say, oh, actually, I want it over that side, look, so we'll put it over there. You can see it updates in real time. If I drag it up, it will snap to the floor because I've turned floor snapping on, which you can turn off. And there you go. I've now got a spline wall. It doesn't link into PCG or anything like that. It's just a dead simple thing. But you can see every single fence, every single wall, all of these, I've moved over to spline mesh because it's so easy. I was modifying this landscape the other day, which is why there's a big drop there. Look. I had this fence just snapping automatically into position. I moved the entire landscape down and it just snapped into position and didn't move. It was so good. So that's the tool I always use now. I put it in with everything. It's got a lot of options, but it's so easy to get up and running with. So yes, basic spline mesh tool. It works really, really well. The next tool I use is one I do stick in most games, but not straight away. It's always towards a release of a game or when something that I already have the assets ready for, and that's going to be the async loading screen. I bet most of you now that you have gone to YouTube to look for a tutorial, a loading screen, and you've got one tutorial there that's added a widget to the screen, added a delay node, and carried on. Or you'll get the odd one that says how to use animated loading screens. They play a movie or something it's playing, then they call open level, it freezes, and then it loads a game. It looks awful, absolutely awful. This is where async loading screen comes in. It's got a bunch of different functionalities from throbbers or spinners, images, movies, text, anything you need to basically give you animated loading screens. And so even on my own personal games, I've got a mix of movies and images playing on my loading screens. It completely takes over it and it's completely free. That's the benefit of it. I only really add it in when I'm ready to have loading screens between main menus and stuff. If I've got a single level, there's not really much point of it, but it's free, it's super lightweight. It does have its limitations for being free. Like, you can't add clickable loading screens where it says, please click to skip the loading screen or whatever. You can't do that. There's a few other limitations to it, but for me personally, I've never needed any of them. It's just worked for me. So yes. It's also constantly updated to all the latest versions of Unreal. I've never had a problem with it. It works on all platforms too. The next plugin I'm going to show is one that I actually found from another game dev. And before, I heard everybody say it. I'll probably say the name in a minute and you'll know exactly what it is because everybody knows what it is. But I didn't see the benefit of it until I bought it. I imported it into my game and I've never looked back now. And I install it to every single project. And that is Ultra Dynamic Sky. If you have managed to skip what Ultra Dynamic Sky is, or you're just getting started with Unreal, that's okay. Ultra Dynamic Sky is a weather and time and sky system, basically. It gives you everything you need to create weather effects, time effects, sky effects. Really, really easily, out of the box. You don't need to be an artist to make it work. So you can see all these pretty things you can create in your game, absolutely. And I think it's like $35, $40, something like that. It's absolutely worth it for nearly all type of games. So you can see this pretty sky up here. So if I come in and select my Ultra Dynamic Sky widget here, so you can see I've got my sky mode here. I can come and set the time of day and you'll see in real time it will change itself. And now I'm in nighttime, look. Obviously I've not got any nighttime lights set up. So my portal and my Aurora Borealis, which looks sick, by the way, it just works in real time. So where's my sun gone? If I come back, so you can see the sun just moves, and as I get round, the moon will come up as well. Look at that. How pretty is that? Let's just get rid of that temporarily. Ultra Dynamic Sky. And that's only half of the product. That's the best thing. So if I set that back to what it was, the other side of Ultra Dynamic Sky is the weather system. And the weather system comes completely free with the product. And it basically gives you a set of all sorts of different weather types. So at the moment, I've got clear skies, and as you can see, if I come and set it to cloudy, it becomes cloudy. You can code all of this in and fade between it. You can see they're also moving, look. All animated, super lightweight as well. If you want snow, because everybody loves snow, it's compiling shaders, that's why. Here we go. As it picks up, we now have snow. I don't believe the snow caches on the ground and creates big snow piles and footprints. You'll have to use something else for that. But for basic effects, there is sound as well, but I'm not actually in the game. Let me start the game. So you can see, I've now got the sound of snow. How cool is that? Obviously, I'd hide the Aurora Borealis. I think it comes with that as well, but I just used my Cinti ones. But you can see, it's snowing. If I F8 out, and we'll go and find my weather, there, I can come and I'll set it to foggy. And now it's foggy. There you go. I can come and set it to rain. Actually, no, let's do thunderstorm. So you can see, it's now heavily raining. You can hear the thunder just cracking. Tomb Raider, you know, the 2016 version. You've got it. Look, oh, look at that lighting there. That was epic. But yes, I'm not an artist, which I do say often. And Ultra Dynamic Sky made my game look so good. So as you can see, the old game looks so bad. But yes, that is quality of a plugin. So the next plugin I'm going to use is one I got for free as part of the Epic giveaway thing they do. I think it's a fairly pricey plugin, but it absolutely is worth it. And that's NPC Optimizator. Not every game's going to have an NPC. Granted, you might have an escape room game. You're not going to have an NPCs. You won't have need for this. However, most of the games I build have some sort of NPCs in it, and this plugin just works fantastically. You can make all of these changes yourself. However, where this shines is it gives you an absolute metric ton of settings to change in set waves. So all you do is add the optimization proxy to an NPC and you're pretty much done. You can go in and tweak it more if you want, like I do. And they have these 5 waves. Let's go and open it up actually. So you can see I've got this optimization proxy here. And all you do is you come in and you have these set waves down here and the invisible one. All you do is come in and pick what you want to happen at specific waves, I guess you could say. So this is saying 1,500. If I'm 1,500 away from this NPC, this will start happening. So you can see it's checking if they're on the floor. They've got physics for their movement. Their skeletal meshes don't hide shadows. It all works, everything. However, if I get 2,500 distance away, then all of a sudden the shadows start hiding. Their mesh collision is disabled because they don't need it. And all of these settings here take effect. And then you've got your 3rd wave, and then your 4th wave is just completely invisible. And it makes all your NPCs super optimized. So you can stick countless NPCs in a game. I worked on a game not long ago called The King's Summoning Man. And I wanted a bunch of NPCs stood around the world. So you can see I've got all these NPCs walking around. I had something like 50 NPCs and I was tanking my performance. They're really low poly characters and all they're doing is walk around. Very basic AI. But my performance was like 25 FPS. I stuck this plugin on by default settings and I went up to something like 250 FPS, 100, because it was that optimized across all of the NPCs. It was so good. They even show it in the demos, which they're always going to do, and say 1,000 bots, they've got 8 FPS. But with the Toolkit plugin, with basic optimization out of the box, 1,000 bots and 210 FPS. That's simple. And they're all walking around, they all remember what they do, but it changes what they do at a distance. It reduces their animations, it hides their shadows, it disables physics. You can actually see it on the devlog of one of my videos, I think, where I zoom out, but you can see NPCs far off in the background. They're animating at like 2 FPS. Because that's what the plugin's done. It's reduced everything down so they work really well. And you can see, with additional optimizations, it's gone to 300 FPS. Potato mode, it's gone up to 300 FPS. And they've got 1,000 NPCs walking around them. That's GTA 6 beach scene quality. And it works so well. So for me, it's a must-have plugin because it works really well. So these next 2 plugins I normally do have installed. I haven't installed them at the moment, but they're big for world design and tidying up your project. I always recommend them to people when they need them. And until the Epic Marketplace lets me download plugins again, I can't really do it. But the first one is Asset Cleaner. This is just a must-have plugin for any game, really. And all it basically is a small window that simply tells you all the assets that are not used in your game. They're not referenced anywhere, they're not in any arrays, they're not in any data tables, and just lists them to you, whether they're materials, meshes, everything. You can filter by size, type, anything you want. So you can see here, all the disk size ones here. I've had projects that were like 100, 150 gig. I installed this plugin and wiped out everything I didn't need, and it went down to 6 to 8 gig. 100 gig plus of space saving of stuff that's just in the project that doesn't need to be. Like when you download metahumans and you install all the metahumans you want, mess around with them, you never keep track of all the ones that you don't use. And this plugin, you just run every so often, will give you, here's all the assets, delete them off. I wouldn't recommend installing it at the start of a project and keep doing it, because as you're building your world, you're probably going to import a lot of assets to use soon or eventually. When you're about to distribute your game, make a copy, whack Asset Cleaner in it, and remove everything you don't have. It will massively reduce the size in your project, and it's so good, and it works really, really well. A lot of people, I think, would have got it as part of the free sponsored content pack. Yeah, it's absolutely worth it, because it really does reduce the size. I've sent it to several clients as well that I work with, other devs, and they have managed to reduce their project sizes hugely. The next one I'm going to talk about, which I don't also have installed at the moment because I've not had need for it at the moment, is the Physical Layout tool. This one is free, and Fab is saying I don't own it, even though I clearly do because I've used it in the past. I've used it on stream as well. And it basically just lets you apply physics to anything, but temporarily. So you can see here, he's got loads of plates, and all he's done is put the plates up top, activated physics, watched them all collapse down, then tap Disable Physics. That's it. And then you've got an organic looking scene. Because for humans, naturally we want things to be in a pattern. So we try to stack it up neatly, but then it looks weird and out of place. This tool just lets you spawn things randomly, and it'll just pile up. And then you can bake it into a static mesh into the exact position it is with no physics. Super lightweight. I will say it's a bit finicky to use, so watch the tutorials and get used to it. Because you kind of like either paint on physics, and that will paint on where you want your items, or you'll select your items, enable physics, but you've got to make sure to disable the physics afterwards, otherwise it keeps it. But it's absolutely well worth it. Like you can see, no artist is going to be able to properly stack that shelf to look that organic, like somebody's just put it there. And that's where this tool shines. It's free, and it just works. You just place it on, boom, done. Nice and easy. The next one that I unfortunately don't have installed, but I have used in the past. This isn't going to be for everybody, but basically there are some things you just can't do in Blueprints. Or you at least can't do it in a neat, nice way. Whereas this tool comes along, it's completely for free. A bunch of these nodes that take a lot of Blueprint work, or that you physically can't do in Blueprints because you have to do in C++, and goes, here's a node for it. It's another one of those plugins that I look at and go, why hasn't Unreal just bought this? Buy it out, stick it in the engine, and just make everybody happy. It'd make so much sense. But yeah, there's like hundreds of nodes it adds to your project. It's super lightweight, and yeah, it just works. Like, set window mode and get window mode. You can change in-game what you want it to be, just with a node. It's super easy. Some of the bigger ones I use it for were the sorting. Is the sorting on the screenshots? No, I don't think the sortings are. Basically, they had a node called sorting, and on Unreal, if you want to sort an array to change which order it is, you have to write a very complex function where you go into the array, you cache it, you sort itself, you insert it up or below whatever you're trying to sort by. And they have a node in this that you just plug into it and it works. There you go, there's your sortaways, look. You just plug in and say sort it by this thing and it does it. It spits it back out. It's super useful. And there's been quite often times where I've looked at something and I've gone, oh, well, I just need to do this thing. And this plugin's got a node in to do it for you. And it works really, really well. Like if you want a new line, you just connect this node. Or if you want an advanced for loop, where you can plug different things in. It's all stuff like that that just works incredibly well. It's another completely free plugin. So the final plugin that I install on every single game nearly, or that I at least highly recommend, is a bit of, it has its own caveat, and bear me with me here. The one I'm going to recommend is Advanced Locomotion System, ALS. And now before you other ALS people kick in, the caveat is an ALS-like system, a locomotion system. If you don't know what ALS is, it's basically a movement system built into the game. I think Epic now has their animation sample, and that counts too. But you can see in the game, I've got this movement, I've got this camera, I've got this climbing, I've got the movement, I can ragdoll glitchily, but it works. And that's it, that's the base ALS, that's completely free. You can get that, download it, import it to your game. I've got a tutorial about it on a YouTube short, it's that simple. But I've got all of these features now. I haven't actually got it. You can also hold weapons and perform different animations and stuff. Now the ALS one, ooh, what on earth's happened there? That's funky, isn't it? But the ALS one is free and works really well. But there's a lot of different ones which have based their products off of ALS, such as the eye wall sample where you can grapple hooks, you can glide, you can do all sorts like that. There's an absolute bunch of them. There's even forks of the ALS system for community. There's C++ ones, there's multiplayer focused ones, there's paid ones where people have gone off and done their own thing. There's ones which aren't related to ALS at all, and the point is a locomotion system of some kind. Now you might be going in to create a very custom thing, or you might be using a car or a tank. Stuff like that is probably not going to work very well for this. However, if you're creating any type of walk around game, then ALS or a locomotion based system is absolutely highly recommended because it can take your game from the basic Unreal Mani to a physics simulated thing that works really, really well. So like if I come over to this city here and just say right on top of there, drop my character here, I now have a character right here on this game. I can jump off, I can't code any of this, not even quickly anyway. And you can see I can now explore this city. I can climb up objects, so let's climb up this plant here, collision's messed up there. You can see I'm climbing up. It'd take ages for me to climb this, and it's really, really easy to use. And if you get some of the paid ones, like the eye walls one for example, I've not used it yet, but I've heard good things. It gives you so much flexibility and a massive kickstart in your game. The ALS one and several of the forks, they're completely free. They are outdated now, at least the standard ALS one is. I don't even think it's been pushed past Unreal 5. Look, yeah, it's not even on Unreal 5 technically. However, it does still work. But you can go and get the community ones, and you can see the list of things you can do. You've got animations, you've got weapons, you can tie it up, you can attach it to NPCs, rolling, climbing. You've got all sorts, look. It really is a great kickstart for any game. And then, I know I said 10 plugins, however, I've recently started playing with one that, and you gotta believe me here, I deleted yesterday so I could re-download it with the latest version and play around with the latest tools. But as I mentioned earlier, the Epic Game Store doesn't let me download at the moment with the new move to Fab. So I deleted it, and I can't get it back. Which sucks so badly. But I might reach out to the dev, because it's a free plugin. But basically, it's called Wonderscape Worlds PCG Toolkit. It's basically a large landscape generator that you draw some height maps on, you use some of the existing ones, you paint mountings on, and it uses the Unreal procedural content generation to spawn trees, grass and everything, snow, and it works so well. As I've said multiple times, I'm not an artist, but all of these screenshots here are based in the plugin, and I feel confident I could create these screenshots. And yeah, you basically come in, you paint it, it automatically generates it saying this is the side of a mountain, you don't want trees here. It's got its placeholder stuff to make sure it doesn't lag. And then when you click generate, you get a really pretty landscape. I did download it the other day. It's got a tutorial that's like 2 hours long, and they're working on even more stuff as well. And it is just an absolutely fantastic plugin that I've really, really fallen in love with. And I am going to keep practicing with it because it does take... It's quite in-depth, as you can imagine, to generate something of this scale. But you can see, all of this here, you've got the landscape is for rivers, you've got all the trees generated, they're not going up the mountain, they're all oriented correctly. The plugin takes a lot of this for you, but it also gives you full control. So it basically starts off from a basic landscape look with nothing on it, and then you import a height map, and then you draw mountains on it for what you want, and you can see giant mountains, and it looks small on here, but I'm telling you, you're like a speck of dirt down here. That's how big this landscape is, and it takes minutes once you know what you're doing. It even shows you how to create your own material to handle it, as well as providing a bunch of other materials for you to use automatically. And that's the bit I got stuck on, was the material creation, purely because I'm not used to it yet. I've not had much exposure with the materials, but you can see he's painting on top of snows for mountains because he wants snow there. He's done a little river path down here too. And you'll see he'll come in, he'll add textures to it, he'll make it look really pretty. He's then using PCG, which he shows you everything how to do to generate trees. Boom. Mass trees. How cool is that? But yes, that's one plugin I am playing with. They put out an update recently, the developer of it, saying they've added these stamp things, where you can like place a mountain down with a single click. So I will say this is still in development. He is still working on it, but you can see this is the tool, and the latest update they've put out, they've now got stamps where you can just come in and place mountains, entire mountains with a click. Imagine trying to do that with the landscape tool, raising the mountain, getting the random deformity of it, and it just a single click and you've got mountains. How cool is that? And this is the type of tool that I'm really looking forward to using. As many of you know, I've been hand painting my world here for ages now, and it looks terrible. And it looks terrible. It looks the same. It looks reusy. It doesn't look natural. Like these bits here, I didn't make this. These are meshes. But all this, I put these big mountains here because I thought it looked cool. It looks crap. But yes, that's what I'm planning to use that tool for. So when I get my world up and running, I can generate, I guess this plugin will call this a small landscape, but a landscape all around here. I can come in and remove all of the meshes that build up this landscape currently, these hills, and just have it natural. And then I can come in, I can use PCG to cut out this area and say, hey, no, there's a mountain here with these random buildings on, and it'll take care of it. It'll remove all the trees. I won't have any of this crap anymore where you can't see very far. But yes, that's the Wonderscape tool. I've not used it in everything yet. It's fairly new. I don't think it's even a few months old at this point. But I know he's been working on it for ages now. But yes, there is my 10 every time plugins that you will probably want. And plugins do you use? I've asked around and a few people have given some good comments that I need to try out. So I'm thinking I'll try those plugins out, and if I integrate them into my day of cycle, I'll put another video out of more plugins to use. Let me know below what you use. Are you going to try any of the plugins I've suggested? Let me know below as well. Thank you for watching. I hope this helps. If there's any issues, or you would like some more information of some other plugins, or you've got plugins to recommend, let me know below. P.S. I've got a new computer now. Look how buttery smooth it is. My name is Decryption, and I will see you next time.